Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Prasthita Dishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Radha Nata Radha Nata Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today's topic is like a lion on the chase. This is taken out from the Light of the Bhagavat, Analogy 6. So let's just go there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The analogy goes as follows. On hearing the sound of the torrential rains, the frogs come out of the mountain caves and begin to chant, like brahmacharis who chant the Vedic hymns by the order of the spiritual master. So that's the analogy. We'll read the purport and take it from there. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this age of godless civilization, the sages of the world recognize religions, sects. Let me read that again. In this age of godless civilization, the sages of world recognize religious sects who believe in God must come out of their secluded place and preach the science of God, the supreme will, to the people in general. Hindus, Muslim, Christian, and the members of other sects that have convincing faith in the authority of God must not sit idly now and silently watch the rapid growth of godless civilization. There is the supreme will of God, and no nation or society can live in peace and prosperity without acceptance of this vital truth. The warning is already there. The responsible leaders of religious sects must meet together and form a common platform of league of devotees of the Lord. There is no need for self-realized souls to live in secluded place. Perfect self-realized souls engaged in the service of the Lord are unafraid of Maya, just as law-abiding citizens of the state never fear the police. Such fearless devotees of God always speak scientifically about the existence of God. Even at the risk of death, such devotees of God feel compassion for the mass of people who have completely forgotten the Supreme Lord and engage in the false pursuit of happiness that ends in the sense pleasures enjoyed by hogs and dogs. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Pranavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Vanchikalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, dear devotees, we have read the purport, and in the purport we see that Srila Prabhupada is giving a task to all religious denominations to go out and preach the message of God, whether one is a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Jew, or whatever, in order to save humanity from going to hell. So, having said that, we find that people nowadays, they don't care for religion, they don't care for God. You know, they're more interested in sense gratification and, you know, comparing themselves with their neighbors, comparing themselves with their colleagues. You know, how much do I have? How much more can I get? You know, to just increase life's demands, and also to become more entangled in this material world. So Srila Prabhupada is asking all religious denominations, all types of religion, to go out and preach the divine command. So like this, we as Hare Krishnas, we also go out and we preach. So this class is entitled Like a Lion on the Chase. So basically, devotees go out and distribute books, to reclaim the fallen souls, like a lion, going out and going out hunting. So we are going out and hunting for the spirit soul to come back to reclaim the fallen souls back to Krishna's domain. So in our lives, we have many stalwart acharyas that have taken this instruction to heart and have done this. That's how we have ISKCON today. Now, Srila Prabhupada has taken these teachings of the Goswamis and simplified it for us, for the benefit of everyone. One example is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, right? When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was on parikram and touring around India, he was highly successful because many of his disciples, although initiated as Brahmanas and sannyasis, were not born in Brahmin families. Right, and when they used to go out, the shopkeepers would close their doors and refuse to sell their wares to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciples. Why? Because they would preach very strongly about the nonsense philosophies of the proud and arrogant caste brahmanas. So we see that, even in that period, long ago, people were well, especially the caste brahmanas, used to say that anyone born out of the Brahmanical system is not a Brahmana. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was preaching against this. He says, no, everyone can become a Brahmana, guna karma, right? One is determined to be a Brahman by guna and karma, by the qualities, right? And they work. So it's it doesn't mean that you are born into a Brahmin family, and you're doing all the illicit things, then you're still a Brahmana. No, that doesn't determine you as a Brahmana. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was preaching against this. He always emphasized the needlessness of material qualification to receive spiritual initiation. Anyone, regardless of caste, sex, nationality, past backgrounds, whoever they may be, whoever was sincere to have a spiritual life, to have initiation, he would give it to them. The caste Brahmanas were very much in an uproar about his turning those not born in Brahmin families into Brahmins better than themselves. They even saw that these Brahmanas that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had made were actually more qualified than them, right? So the Nityananda Vamsa especially were in an uproar and tried to assassinate him. They went to the local police magistrate to bribe him so he wouldn't apprehend them after they murdered Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. The magistrate told him that he usually accepts bribes, but he could not accept a bribe to kill a sadhu. So you see, even in those days, people had some culture in them, that they wouldn't accept a bribe to kill a saintly person because they know the consequences of that, right? Then he informed Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj that his life was saved. What happened was that he got the news, and one of his disciples told him to exchange the cloth and go out the back entrance so that he wouldn't be targeted. So instead, he would take the brunt of being assassinated. So and he saved his spiritual master. So whilst he posed as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and went out to the front entrance, uh, sometimes it's basically not etiquette to wear the clothes of the spiritual master, but in this case it's different because it so happened that he wanted to save the life of his spiritual master. And then this is what actually happened. There was a bloody massacre of the devotees. Luckily, nobody was killed, and they managed to escape that. So we see, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was known as a lion guru because he was not afraid of anything. And, he would go out and he would preach, against the philosophies of these caste brahmanas. And in 1930 and 1931, a new kind of spiritual education was exhibited to attract especially the illiterate masses. These comprised of pictorial presentations of the teachings. He used dioramas and life-size mannequins and theistic exhibits. This attracted thousands of visitors daily. He also sent some disciples to England, but they returned unsuccessful. We see that Srila Prabhupada was one of his disciples, and he took his spiritual master's instructions to heart, to write books in the English-speaking language and to preach in the English language like this. So Srila Prabhupada took this mission upon himself, and we see how successful he was in preaching all over the world, just not only in India, all around the world, in every continent. He also came to Africa, So by his mercy, his disciples have also taken up this missionary spirit. Some of the things that Srila Prabhupada did was outrageous in the eyes of normal Vaishnavas, like getting an invite to a strip club. You never hear a sadhu going to a strip club and preaching, and at such a ripe old age of 70, So, but Prabhupada, because he was so self-controlled, he went and he preached, right? And he sang, he glorified the Lord by chanting the holy names of Krishna. And he also used the Grateful Dead, a rock band, a rock group, to propagate Krishna consciousness, preaching to the derelicts on the Bowery of New York and Haight-Ashbury. We see how Krishna protected his devotee under all circumstances. So yes, so Prabhupada went through many, many hardships in order to give us Krishna consciousness. At the present moment, we see that His Holiness Indradumna Swami is preaching in Poland, and His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami is having these online classes, and many other devotees, Kadamba Swami is also having online classes. So we see that these stalwart preachers in ISKCON, by Prabhupada's grace and mercy, are taking up this process, right, of preaching. So Srila Gurudev Indradumna Swami, he's holding 50 festivals along the Baltic Sea coast, culminating in the Woodstock Festival that attracts over 1 million people. So this festival is not a small thing. It's not a small festival. It's a huge, huge festival, right? We see in the early days of his preaching in Poland, there were many oppositions from the skinheads, like the hooligans, and from the Catholic priests, because that's a Christian country. But Srila Gurudev persisted, and now he is welcomed by the people of Poland. So basically, just a little of my experience. I had the opportunity of visiting this festival, and let me tell you something, it's out of this world. It's like Lord Chaitanya's mission is coming to life, chanting the holy names, dramas, prasadam, entertainment, discourses, yoga, all in a huge way. you know, and it's basically you never find an Indian person there or a black person. You know, it's just all European people from Europe that comes to this festival, and it's over 1 million people. It's like 20 times greater than our Rath Yatra, and Woodstock is basically 100 times greater. You know, because there's so many people that come into his into the village of peace. When I went out on Harinam, that would be like 6 hours a day. We'd go out on Harinam and pass out invitations for people to come to our festival. And people, basically, that was like in the early 2000s, and people never saw a dark-skinned person before, right? And they would stare at me. Some of them would take pictures of me, and I had to pose with them, you know, for pictures. And basically, I was like a celebrity there. But I felt so ashamed because my spiritual master was there. But he encouraged me to do so because that is also preaching, right? So this is our mission in spreading the holy names around. If we are unable to do that, then we can do it in the vicinity of where we live, you know. So it's no problem, you know. We can distribute our Srila Prabhupada's books. We can serve out prashadam. Food for Life is also growing very extensively, in that they are opening kitchens in every town and village now. And, you know, basically Food for Life is like a household. Now everybody knows about Food for Life, right? And it's expanding day by day. So we can either choose to be part of Lord Chaitanya's mission or not. If we do, then our path back home is open, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that those who preach his message is very, very dear to him. This is like a lion on the chase. We are trying to the best of our ability to run after those who have forgotten Krishna and are immersed in Maya. Thinking in terms of the body, on the bodily platform. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is urging all religious denominations to go out and preach the holy command. We should not sit down idly and watch the growth of godless civilization. We have the most precious philosophy in our movement, and if we spread it out in order to attract other people, then Krishna and Srila Prabhupada will be so pleased with us. So, dear devotees, let us make it happen. Don't rely on the temple, because there are so many departments that needs to be taken off at the temple. The congregation needs to step up. The Namahatas needs to step up and make this movement spread. We have, as examples, so many acharyas, our own Srila Prabhupada himself. We should take inspiration from them and try to expand this movement to the best of our ability. All the hard work has already been done by the previous acharyas. All we need to do is take it out and give it out to people. We should not be selfish, but selfless in giving the holy names out. Example, Srimad Bhagavatam has already been translated in English by Srila Prabhupada, and he has so many books that he translated into the English-speaking language for our benefit. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was searching for the Chaitanya Charitamrita and eventually found a copy, which is already translated to English by Srila Prabhupada for our benefit, right? So temples have been built. All we need to do is accept these teachings with firm conviction and spread it out. Find ways to preach to people of this land, especially. Make them Krishna conscious. It's a very difficult place, South Africa, I know, but in time, but in some little way, we can make a huge difference in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. There's a verse like this in the Bhagavatam. Sarva visargo janataka viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadavati namani anantasya sankintani yad shinvanti gayanti krinanti sadavaha. On the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Lord, is a different creation of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada is directly appealing to Indian people to go out and preach. He says that those who are born in this Vedic culture should go and preach, should go out and spread these holy names of Krishna and should preach. Although we are born on the African soil, but we have an Indian heritage. So this is a command from Srila Prabhupada himself. He is speaking to us. You know, although some of us weren't even born when he started this movement, so Srila Prabhupada is direct instructions. What are we going to do? How are we going to repay Srila Prabhupada for all that he has done for us? The only way is to follow this one important instruction, that is preaching. That's the only way we can repay Srila Prabhupada, by following this instruction of preaching, by giving these holy names out. This is the most important instruction for those born of Indian heritage. So with that, I would like to stop. And if you like to contribute to this topic, you're most welcome to do. So I will just go and read the analogy again, right? The analogy goes as follows. On hearing the sound of the torrential rains, the frogs come out of the mountain caves and begin to chant, like brahmacharis who chant the Vedic hymns by the order of the spiritual master. So this is the order of the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to all of us. And how we take it and how we, try to propagate these holy names will depend on our faith and our conviction of the holy name and of the process of Krishna consciousness, of Bhakti Yoga. So, dear devotees, with this, I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on this topic. Let's hear it from you. Paramatma Prabhu, you can start.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class. Mataji, I'd just like to say that what you are saying is very important and we need to take it seriously. Obviously now since COVID, people are still relaxed and not going out too much, but some are taking advantage of online like what we are doing. And I just hope that it spreads like that. And as you said, we should find ways of spreading, but it's not going to be easy though. But obviously together, when we are together in association, it'll obviously increase our faith and dedication, and it'll convince us more.
Yes, sure. The most important thing, Prabhupada wants us to do is, because we are born in Africa, we should preach to the African nation, so wherever the Indians have settled in the world, they should preach in that country to the people of that soil. So that's what Prabhupada wanted from us. right? And how long is this movement in South Africa now? Over 50 years, you know, or over 40 years basically. But we don't see that so much, right? So we actually need to take this as our life's mission and do this type of preaching. So yes, I have this Namahata in Welbidat, and since COVID, it has been silent. It hasn't been actually active, but we are trying to do something about that as well. So thank you very much. Anyone else would like to contribute? Charmaine Denton.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So mine is, when one's soul is filled with the taste for Krishna conscious and nectar, all right, it is a natural tendency to share that love and taste. So, yeah, when we're chanting, when we chant, we're asking the Lord to engage us in devotional service. And part of devotional service is to give others the holy name so they can be saved by Sankirtan movement.
Yes, so devotees, they're not selfish, right?
Yes.
When they have something nice, they like to take it out and give it to others. So, when they feel exhilarated and when they feel ecstatic in kirtan, or, by chanting the holy names or by engaging in devotional service, then they want to share the good fortune with others, right? And this is what we are meant to do, actually. The more we give Krishna consciousness out, right, the more we will be filled with Krishna consciousness. So in spiritual life, it's like one minus one is still one, right? It does not deteriorate, or it does not decrease, but it actually increases and increases at every step. So therefore, whatever we learn, whatever we read, and whatever we try to understand in Krishna consciousness, we should try and give that out. Because the more you give out, the more you will become, you will be filled with more knowledge. And in this way, you will advance in Krishna consciousness. It won't go away from you. It will stay with you like that. So I remember once my spiritual master said that if you want to learn a verse, you learn the verse and you preach on that verse and you quote it without looking, and you preach and you do that 3 times, that verse is yours, it belongs to you, so no one can, it'll never go out of your mind. You'll never forget it for the rest of your life. So like this, when we learn verses in class, or for now we're doing the Bhakti Vaibhav seminar, Maharaj is doing it. When we learn these verses, we need to preach on these verses so that it stays with us, right? So yes, we need to give it out so we can retain it. Otherwise, if we don't give it out, we won't retain it in our memories. We won't. So it'll go away with us, from us, it'll go away. So therefore we need to give it out. Yes.
So I also have a question. So preaching is important, okay? But what about people, preaching, giving out the holy name is important, but what about people that mock and ridicule the philosophy, all right? Is it an offense to continue preaching to them or stop? And my question is more directed like to people that are actually friends and families. We have our friends and families and we think, okay, we're going to save them, let's continue preaching, let's continue, they're going to get it one day, and like, you know, they're just not getting it. Is it okay to continue preaching, or do we just leave it, you know?
Yes, so one of the offenses to the holy name is to preach to the faithless, right? So
Okay.
we should not push something down their throat that they're not ready
Mhm.
for. So, you know,
Mhm.
just they would set an example, and they preach by example. So in this way they can get some mercy. Otherwise, if they mock or if they blaspheme, then their spiritual life will be going down, and you will be accountable for that. So better not preach to them like, you know, like that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I've got one question.
Yes.
Ranga, we're living in the modern era now, and like even newspapers and that, even in America, where they had 5 different newspapers, they're selling less and less newspapers. Everything's becoming online now. Does ISKCON do podcasts? I mean, I've watched lots of YouTube videos with ISKCON. Do they have podcasts? The ISKCON,
Yes.
they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I know Jay Shetty has a podcast, and many other preachers have podcasts. Yeah, so I had one, but I couldn't maintain it. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because that seems to be, they say that the millennials now, they've done these consensuses in Australia and various of these first world countries, and fewer and fewer of them are of any sort of religious denomination. Like they seem to say, well, like maybe 30 years ago, there were more religious people than there are now. The millennials don't seem to be that way inclined, by judging by the consensus, these census that they've done, the statistics. And
Yes.
they're very into the podcasts and that. So that's why I'm just asking that question, because I know that reaches a very broad and far-reaching sort of platform. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Gopal Prabhu has a podcast. Jay Chetty has a podcast, and many other stalwart preachers in ISKCON do have podcasts. So yeah, but you have to be like financially well off to maintain it, So
Right.
yeah. So yeah, but they do have, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if there's nothing else, then we can have a short kirtan and end here.
Mataji, we haven't heard Bhaktin Kurura Paul Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji. Would you like to say
Hare
something?
Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for wonderful class, Mataji. I have one question. In our Vaibhava classes, Guru Maharaj told one time that Lord became Lord of our heart. If you can explain more deeper this, please.
Sorry, repeat that.
That Krishna became Lord of our heart, the Lord of the heart.
Oh, yes. Krishna becomes the Lord of our hearts. Yes. So in whichever form we worship Krishna, that form he will take within the heart, right? So he becomes the Lord of our heart. The Paramatma at the moment, the Paramatma is in the form of Mahavishnu in the heart. But if we worship Krishna in just say as a child, then he will take that form in our heart. And if you worship Krishna in his threefold bending form, with the flute, then he will take that form in our heart. So he will become the Lord of our hearts. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anyone else? Nalina, would you like to say something?
Hare Krishna Mataji, dear devotees. What I'd like to know is the ISKCON needs to, what I need to say is that the ISKCON has to take the Hare Krishna movement into the future for the next 10,000 years. So me doing service at the temple at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of children coming into the temple. And what can we do to try and get more children involved from an early age so that they become Krishna conscious, and they can take the movement forward? Because when they do come, when you do speak to them, when you do offer them the prasadam, they are very keen and very happy. Now, perhaps if you can go to schools and take the prasadam to them, take little booklets, will that help, Mataji?
Yes, yes, we can do that. And maybe you can take up that service of going out to the schools and preaching. We were doing it previously. Some devotees were going out and to schools every day. They would go, choose a school, go there. Obviously, they would get permission from the authorities at school, and they would go there, have a food for life, give out prasadam and also books, and also preach, just have like a small skit or something just to interest the children. So that's very nice, but we don't have that going on anymore. So it would be a very good thing if, some devotees could do that. As I said, at the temple, our plates are full. We have so much to do. So so the congregation needs to step up. They need to try and search the brain in whichever which way to preach to the masses, to children especially, because they are of this age now, that they can easily pick up whatever we are saying and they could take it forward. Very nice. Thank you. Like in the Valbidath Namahata, I basically mostly have children, So what I've decided now is I'm teaming up with another teacher, and we're having we're going to start a program at her students' place in Valbidath. It's a different area from where I used to preach. So yeah, so we'll be doing that. So, Mataji, if you have the capability and, to do something like that, or, devotees who can help you, assist you in doing things like in that type of preaching, then please, by all means, go ahead and do it. We urge you.
Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, kids are at a very impressionable age, and by giving them Krishna consciousness, they will take this movement forward. And therefore, my preaching is mostly to kids, because adults, they're set in their ways, and they won't change. But kids, they are looking for new avenues, basically, new things to do. So thank you so much for that, Nalina. I really appreciate that. We'll have some kirtan now before we close up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna.